All right, boys and girls, this is my first attempt at this school year. Hopefully, we don't have any issues, but I'm reading you the test today, and you are taking the camping without a phone part one test today. And then on Monday, you'll take the second part. So I have a little friend here today. You can't see him. There he is. Um, so we will get our story going. Again, follow along. You can follow along. I would prefer you to follow along on your paper, but again, it's up to you. Okay. So let me see if I can maneuver this so it's a little better. Okay. Camping without a phone. I couldn't believe it when my mom told me we were spending our winter vacation going camping. They're always trying to get me to go outside. More. It seems like my mom is constantly saying, Shania, turn off the computer. Or Shania, put down your phone and talk to us. They don't seem to understand that I'm in the zone when I'm using a keyboard, so of course, I don't want to stop. We drove for an hour to the Everglades National Park. As soon as we got there, my cell phone stopped working. The precaution I had taken of fully charging it had done no good. I couldn't get a signal for it. Suddenly, I was facing 3 days of no contact with the outside world. I couldn't get a signal for it, and suddenly I was facing 3 days of no contact with the outside world. By the door. My little brother, Matt, thought it was amusing, and my mom tried to convince me I'd like it. You'll be able to look around more when you're not staring at a screen, she said. You might have to act like a human being, said Matt as he started laughing. Then he escaped to the other side of the campground. We took a hike with the ranger in the afternoon. At first, I couldn't care less, and I just thought about what I was missing back home. But after a while, I opened my senses and started to notice some things in nature that you don't see in video games. By the end of the hike, I realized there was more action in the park than there is in most video games. It just didn't happen as obviously. Looking up, I pointed to a patch of trees that looked dead and blackened. The ranger explained that fires can be beneficial for the Everglades. Lightning starts the fires. The pine and some other trees resist the fire, and their branches are too high for the fires to reach. Other trees and plants that try to take over from the pines are lower and get burned. I could almost envision the fires burning around us while we walked, as if they were on a video screen. Then we stopped to look at a pile of fur and little bones, apparently left behind by a bobcat. They were probably the remains of a rabbit. The ranger said that bobcats hunt nearly every day, night, and sometimes eat animals as large as a deer. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see the action, but we saw some of the results. Then we saw a wood stork waiting and moving its beak back and forth. It was over 3 feet tall. Because the water is muddy and full of plants, it can't see the small fish it's trying to catch. But its beak is very sensitive. When it touches a fish, its beak snaps closed in 25 milliseconds. That's faster than some computer networks respond when I touch a key. That night I was exhausted from walking all day, and because I didn't use enough sunscreen, I looked a little like what the ranger called the tourist tree. The gumbo the gumbo limbo tree has reddish bark that peels off like it got sunburned. Even so, I woke up in the middle of the night and I was terrified, at first because of some mysterious sounds, but then I recognized the barred owl the ranger had described to us earlier that day. It sounds like it's calling out. Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you? That helped me to relax, so I was able to fall back to sleep. We spent a lot of time exploring over the next 2 days. I started to understand the connection between the land and water and animals. In Everglades, you couldn't even get rid of the mosquitoes without creating a big change for other animals. Small fish eat mosquito eggs. Other fish eat the smaller fish. Large fish eat gars, called gars, eat those fish. And alligators eat the gars. If you eliminated the mosquitoes, you might lose some of the other animals higher up in the food chain, too. After we left, we talked in the car about the Everglades and how different it was from where we lived. Suddenly, right in the middle of our discussion, I heard a familiar tone from my phone. My friend Jada was sending me a text. Without thinking, I reached for my phone, but then I put it back down. Aren't you going to text back? Asked Dad. I will in a little while, I said. Matt looked stunned. My dad and mom looked at each other and just smiled. So here are the questions. Again, you can just pause each question to answer it, and then you can unpause it, and then you can hear me read the next question. So it's at your own pace. So the first question is, read this sentence from the passage. The precaution I had taken of fully charging it had done no good. The Latin prefix pre means before. What does the word precaution mean as it's used in the sentence? A warning, hard work, a plan made many times, care taken ahead of time. Number 2 is a race strategy because it does say support your answer with evidence from the passage. You can choose to do this now, or you can choose to wait until you're done and then come back to this one. I believe this is the only race strategy in the test. How does Shania's mood contribute to the conflict of the passage? Support your answer with evidence from the passage. So how does Shania's mood help with the conflict of the passage? In other words, if you aren't real sure what contribute means. Number 3, this question has 2 parts. First part, it says, read this sentence from the passage. I would almost envision the fires burning around us while we walked, as if they were on the video screen. What does the word envision mean as it's used in the sentence? See, feel, hear, or smell? And then part B, which phrase from the sentence supports the answer in part A? Could almost, fires burning around us while we walked, or video screen? Again, make sure you're pausing to answer the questions, and then you can unpause. Number 4, you're filling in the bubbles to show the order in which events happen, so the sequence. So which one of these 4 happened first, next, then, and finally? The family begins hiking with the ranger. The ranger explains why fires are beneficial for Everglades. Shania concludes that the park has no action than most video games. Shania's cell phone stops working. Number 5, how is Jada's text message to Shania an important event in the passage? A, it shows that Shania is connected to technology, even in nature. B, it shows that Shania changed her attitude without camping. C, it shows that Shania and her friends miss each other. Or D, it shows that Shania has many friends.